Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we will be looking at the infamous urban legend such as creepypasta known as Slenderman, his origins, explosion in popularity, as well as looking at his games and other mainstream media related to him. Please like and subscribe, as it's free and it helps me and my channel out a lot. With that out of the way, buckle up, turn off the lights, get some snacks as we dive into the Slenderman. An introduction to Slenderman. The Slenderman, or Slenderman as I'll be calling him for the remainder of this video, is a tall, thin, humanoid man with no face. He is normally depicted wearing an unnaturally large black suit. Some depictions of him include long tendrils strapping for his back. Stories about him include themes of being stalked, abducting and traumatizing people that are mainly children. Since his conception in 2009, he's been included in many movies, games and creepypastas. Now you have a basic idea of Slenderman, let's go over his origins. The origins of Slenderman. Slenderman was created in 2009 on the Something Awful forum by a user named Victor Search, who we now know as Eric Knudsen. He was created when the forum hosted a competition to create a modern myth that would terrify people. Knudsen responded to this by posting two normal-looking photos from the mid-1980s with a tall, thin man with no face in the background. He captioned it with vague text to suggest that all 14 children and the photographer have since gone missing. After this photo gained so much traction, Slenderman's popularity boomed. Slenderman's explosion in popularity. People soon began to take fake photos, create art and stories revolving around Slenderman, quickly making him a pop culture icon. The key to Slenderman's success was that anyone could do everything with it. There's just a few motifs in all of Slenderman's media that was agreed on by the community, but people took a story about him and ran with it. The most famous example of this is being the student film Marble Hornets. Marble Hornets ran from 2009 to 2014, having over 100 million views, a movie and 3 seasons. This web series, or ARG, follows a student who was recording tapes for a school project but mysteriously disappeared, so their friend watches back and uploads the tapes to YouTube, although out of order. They soon find a Slenderman, which this series refers to as the Operator, has been stalking and messing around with the cast, causing them to go insane and disappear. So our buddy goes into an abandoned house and one of the cast members has a seizure, gets attacked, gets burnt down in his apartment, causing him to suffer from amnesia, and that's only season 1. Listen, if you want a full explanation on the story of Marble Hornets, then I'll happily do a full video about it. The character appeared in the video game Slender The 8 Pages, which is popular among Let's Players, in 2012. Was its popularity to reach a mainstream audience. This then sprouted loads of other fan games and a sequel, Slender The Arrival, in 2013. Inspired the well-known Minecraft mob, the Enderman, with the last mainstream appearance being in the Slenderman movie in 2018. Slender The 8 Pages. Slender The 8 Pages is a free-to-play indie game released in 2012 on Windows and Mac, created on the Unity game engine. The game is first-person and is set in a forest in the middle of the bloody night, and you're there for some reason. The player's objective is to collect 8 notes or pages from around the forest and inside the buildings and facilities in and around the forest without being killed by the Slenderman, who is stalking you around throughout the whole game. The more pages you collect, the fog around the map thickens and Slenderman appears closer and closer to your character, although your sprinting speed does slightly increase. The player is equipped with a flashlight that has a worse battery than any of the FNAF locations, and the ability to jog will tire you out if you use it for too long. Slenderman will occasionally appear on a screen and appear more frequently the more pages you collect. He is accompanied by loud ear rape and static noises, which is really annoying. If you take too long to find a page, stare at Slenderman for too long, or walk into him, you get jump scared, resulting in a game over. Now do you have to start at the beginning? Oh fuck no. If you beat the game on normal difficulty, then a daytime mode will be unlocked. How's that scary? If you beat daytime mode, then $20 mode will be unlocked. The gameplay is the same as normal mode. If the player SD Slenderman, then $20 by rap artist Ron Browns starts playing. No, this is not a joke. There's also a Marble Hornets mode where you have the perspective of a typical Marble Hornets entry. The game download link is incredibly hard to find, but will be linked in the description. The game was popularised by YouTubers such as PewDiePie and Markiplier playing it. Some would say that it became the birth of the face cam Let's Play format. The game's 2012 graphics and cheap scares don't really hold out all that well compared to the skidmark fest of a successor known as Slender The Arrival. Honourable Slender game mentions. So, well, we have a few honourable mentions of really good Slender games that you should totally go play and or check out if you're into that. Slenderman's Shadow. Slenderman's Shadow is a collection of other smaller games mashed into one. Insanely difficult experience though. These games feature small, cramped, mainly indoor maps where you have to collect vast amounts of a certain item, all without Slenderman catching you. Slender The 9 Pages. Very creative with these naming. Slender The 9 Pages seems like a clone of its 1 page difference counterpart. This is where you're wrong. The attention to detail in this game is insane, and it manages to take all the things that worked well in 8 pages and improve upon these points. It has interactive environments, good visuals, and spooky music to give you a more atmospheric experience. Let's go on into the main game, Slender The Arrival. Gameplay. Slender The Arrival is a first-person survival horror video game developed by Blue Isle Studios along with Parsec Productions, who made the original Slender The 8 Pages game, and it was released on Windows and Mac on March the 26th, 2013. The game has since been released on PS3, Xbox 360, Wii U, PS4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch. Every other fucking console ever. With mobile ports for iOS and Android just have been released in October last year. I wrote this script then. This game, unlike all the others, has Slender's creator, Eric Knudsen, as the producer. The core mechanics of the game are the same, having to activate things or collect pages armed with nothing but a flashlight and a sprint. Perspective is through a camera to make sense of the static from the 8 pages. If you look at Slenderman, you're met with static, audio distortion, colour spots and blurring. You go through many levels evading the Slenderman and his minions whilst trying to get to a sinister signal tower to escape. Plot. Slender The Arrival follows the story of 2 childhood friends, Lauren and Kate, after the events of Slender The 8 Pages. Kate, the protagonist of the 8 Pages, is selling her childhood home in the forest, so calls Lauren to come and help her move out. As the sun is setting, Lauren walks down the path and into the home. Something is off. The doors are open, furniture tipped, and ominous drawings all over the walls. Lauren finds a flashlight and hears a woman's screams from inside the forest. She then decides to go and investigate. Lauren goes down a path while Slenderman watches her from a distance, activating 3 generators to light the way and finding newspaper snippets and missing posters. She enters a burnt-down farmhouse and hears crying. Crying leads her to the spirit of a boy who was captured and tortured by the Slenderman. His name's Charlie Matheson Jr. Lauren enters the nearby park with the objective to collect 8 pages whilst being followed by Slenderman. Sound familiar? After collecting 8 pages, Slenderman gives chase to Lauren, who slips down an embankment, hits her head and passes out. In the morning, she regains consciousness and starts looking for Kate. Her search brings her to an abandoned coal mine with the task of turning on 6 generators to power the exit lift. In this level, she's stalked by Slenderman and a proxy, who's basically a brainwashed minion of the Slenderman, known as the Chaser. To get rid of the Chaser, you must zoom into their face with a flashlight in order to stun them. Lauren manages to power up the lift and escape the mine. She reaches a storage outpost which contains a VHS player and 2 tapes. One shows Kate scribbling on pages before Slenderman tries to break into the house, leading to an incredibly stressful gameplay segment of closing and locking all the doors and windows. Despite her efforts, Slenderman gets into the house and corners Kate before she jumps off the first floor window, and the tape abruptly ends. The other tape shows a friend of Kate's called Carl Ross investigating a farmhouse as he collects evidence for the story of Charlie Matheson Sr. This launches into a gameplay segment where you use gas canisters to power up generators in order to unlock the Matheson family chapel. Charlie, now proxy, chases him away, causing the tape to end. Lauren continues up the mountainside towards a signal tower where she finds a teddy bear, which launches to a flashback of Charlie being lured into the woods by Slenderman whilst at the beach with his family. Lauren enters a cave as she goes down to the signal tower. A forest fire starts. In the final battle of the game, Lauren has to evade an extremely angry Slenderman that teleports, chases, blocks your path, and tries to grab your tendrils. Trust me, I've not played the rest of it. I've played this bit and it's horrifying. Lauren eventually makes it to the signal tower, locking the door behind her. Her flashlight battery dies and she finds a key for another door. This leads her through a bunch of corridors where flashbacks and jump scares happen. When she enters the last door and it locks behind her, she realises it's a dead end. In the corner is a burnt corpse and an audio recording of Carl Ross, and Kate with Carl trying to convince her to commit suicide and arson in order to prevent the spread of Slenderman throughout their families. The corridor suddenly goes dark. And Lauren is jumped by Charlie before blacking out. She wakes up in the same burnt down barn as the start of the game, with Charlie blocking the stairs. She finds notes on her cell, and as she tries to escape, she is crying upstairs. She goes to investigate and finds Kate crying in the corner of the room. As Lauren tries to help Kate, she transforms into a chaser and knocks out Lauren, dragging her body away. Extras! An additional 8-page level can be unlocked after fleeing the woods from Slenderman. By beating the game, you gain access to the hardcore difficulty. A secret hide-and-seek level taking place in Kate's house during the day can also be unlocked. The game has loads of hidden documents, emails, files and photos that can be collected and added to your gallery. The game's graphics and scale still hold up to this day, and it's still very worth playing. The Slenderman movies. Slenderman has received 2 movie adaptations, one being the Marble Hornets and the other being a standalone film. Here, I'll talk about the standalone film, and we'll probably include the Marble Hornets one in a future Marble Hornets related video. Slenderman is a 2018 supernatural horror film directed by Sylvain White and written by David Burke. Development of the film began in May of 2016 and it grossed $51 million in total, and received extremely negative reviews from critics. The film's story goes a bit like this. In some generic American town or suburb, 4 friends randomly find an online tutorial on how to summon Slenderman, as you do. And then they listen to some random bells and close their eyes because they're cretins and actually want to try it. Have they not seen the Let's Players? Which summons him for some reason. The friends keep being haunted by Slenderman until a week later one of them disappears because they asked him to kill them. What is wrong with people in like horror games and movies? They stupid. They not like get that big scary thing you don't want to interact with, you don't want to summon. No? Is it just me or am I the only like same person here? The 3 girls text Slenderman. Man's got like the iPhone 10. He's reading his text. He's up in here. He's with the kids. He's got his own YouTube channel, Twitter account. Don't get cancelled, Slendy. And then they offer Slenderman through text a packet of Whatsits in exchange for their friend. One of them actually had a brain and went on Wikipedia, which made them realise looking at Slenderman is probably not the best idea. But one of them panics and opens their eyes in the middle of the forest with Slenderman there. Slenderman is right there because this is a horror movie. This person is eventually driven insane when Slenderman arrives around their house with a pizza and some quavers. The remaining 2 people are a bit stupid. One of them keeps being haunted by realistic visions and hallucinations of Slenderman whilst the other tries to move on. Suddenly, the one who keeps failing to move on, sister, randomly suffers a panic attack and is sedated because the clever one who tried to cure their visions offered her to Slenderman as breakfast. They then realise, oh shit, we need to get killed by Big Slendy so he doesn't murder our families, and then they go on and do that, I don't know. Yeah, now you can see why the movie was shit. They also had to cut out major scenes to keep that fat Peggy 13 rating, boys, you know, and to avoid public backlash. The death of Slenderman. On 31st of May 2014, a normal day for most people. The events that would transpire on this day would drag the reputation of Slenderman as well as innocent lives through the ground. 3 12-year-old schoolgirls were playing hide-and-seek at David's Park, Waukesha, Wisconsin. 2 of these girls had been plotting something for 6 months using a secret language that only they knew about. They lured their friends into the forest where they pinned her down and stabbed her 19 times with a 13 centimetre, 5 inches, long blade. 2 wounds were to major organs. One missed a major artery of the heart by less than a millimetre, and then another went through her diaphragm, cutting and puncturing both the liver and stomach. The student dragged herself to the nearby road where she found a cyclist who called 911. 2 girls were apprehended and arrested after walking 4.9 miles. Both felt no empathy towards the crime they just committed. Why did they do this? to appease the Slenderman. These idiots honestly believed that if they murdered in his name, then he would appear and make both his minions. Luckily, the victim survived and was let out of hospital a week later. Both the girls were charged with first and second degree murder, with one of them being sentenced for 40 years to life in prison and has been involuntarily locked away in various mental confinement and psychiatric institutions, whilst the other was sentenced 25 years to life. The girl who was charged with second degree homicide and was sentenced to 25 years of life in prison was released on September 13th, 2021 at 19 years old. Her conditions of release include 24-hour GPS tracking, no forms of social media, monitored internet access, and mandatory therapy appointments. A few days after the initial Slenderman stabbings and the anniversary of Slenderman's creation, a mentally ill teen attacked and almost killed their mother. The aftermath of the events were horrific. The Creepypasta wiki and all Slenderman-related media were banned from the Acacia School District. The Tuesday after the stabbing, Eric Knudsen released a statement alongside with the owner of the Creepypasta Wiki. A 24-hour charity stream was to raise money that was organised and carried out by admins of Creepypasta Wiki. SCP Foundation also made a statement about the situation. After this, Slenderman would never be seen the same way in mainstream media again. After the shit show of the movie in 2018 and Knudsen no longer developing such helping projects relating to the character, Slender The Arrival might have just been the last game or actually good piece of media relating to the franchise. Nowadays, Slenderman is a bit of a meme, appearing as a butt of most jokes, or most being known as Slendy. The issue is, people don't find him scary anymore, unless you're me. His concept is amazing, but with a few bad pieces of media and stale gameplay formula, he doesn't feel as horrifying as you first thought. Hopefully one day a new AAA game relating to Slenderman can be released to revive the fan base. The recent release of The Arrival on mobile shows that the devs care, so maybe there's one more hope after all. Now that was my deep dive into the Slenderman. Please like and subscribe, as I put so much effort into this video and it helps out a lot. Remember, I've only scratched the surface of the Slenderman mythos, and there are many other people that have done a way better job than me. Maybe I'll do a Marble Hornets video in the future. Anyways, thanks for watching, see ya. PewDiePie and Markiplier. Fuck. PewDiePie and Markiplier.